The Board of Sign Language Interpreters meeting is convening at 9:39 on February 27th of 2025. This meeting is being held in person and also through Zoom. The meeting is being recorded. This recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. Now we are going to call roll. Colleen Thayer, me here. Eric Crook, VP. Yep, I'm here. You want to see that? Mish, here. Here. Tammy Adams, here. Members of the public, if you wish to comment, please state your first name for the record. The board members, we ask that you not use the chat feature during meetings. It's not permitted. HLO, the Health Licensing Office, asks that individuals attending through Zoom keep your phones muted and cameras off during the full meeting or until they are given the opportunity to comment during the public and interested parties feedback period, if indicated on the agenda. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what the board has statutory authority to regulate. Public members wishing to speak or comment, please sign in on the roster sheet available in the room or, yeah, it's pretty far, or email josh.page@oha.oregon.gov. Let the interpreter catch up. And please include in your email your first and last name. Everybody is asked to use appropriate language and manners and protocols when conducting board business. I believe I am done now. Your turn, Sammy.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Bob Bothell at the Health Licensing Office. The first item on the agenda, the first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Chair, so if we can have one of the board members make a motion to approve the agenda and then a second and then a roll call, please.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Tammy?
Second.
Eric?
Eric approved the second.
And Chair, a roll call, please.
Bob.
Chair, a roll call, please.
Right, voting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric? Eric? Yes. Tammy? Yes. Mish? Yep. And me? That is a good.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. The first item is the board membership. I think everybody's aware of what their terms are. I'll just hit that point real quick. Colleen is in a first term and it expires 12/31/25, and Colleen can reappoint. Eric, too, is in a first term and it expires December 31 of 27 and can reappoint. Mish is in a first term. It expires 12/31/26.
This is Colleen. I do have.
Eric's shaking his head.
Needs to be reappointed, says it on your.
she's
I'm in
reappointed.
the second term.
Okay. I missed it. Sorry, thanks, Eric. And then Tammy is in the first term and it expires 12/31/25 and everybody can reappoint. Also, again, we have vacancies, 2 members who are deaf deaf, blind, or hard of hearing, and who represent an association. And then we also have a vacant member who represents professional organizations in the state for sign language interpreters who holds a license. So those are our vacancies. Also, again, we have.
Colleen has a question.
Yes. Chair.
So it's in regards to the vacancies. Can anybody show their interest and apply during any part of the process?
Yes. Yes. Chrissy.
Just have to meet the qualifier.
Yeah.
So why haven't they been filled?
Nobody's applied.
Okay. I think I misunderstood. So there was so there's interest, but there's nobody who's actually applied. I'm just concerned because the community is not really getting involved. So I don't know, it just feels like, the process isn't going how we envisioned with the goals. It just doesn't seem to be aligning. So I'm curious how we can make that happen for people that are interested and to also get involved. Because it's not our problem. It's like how do we get people involved? I think it's up to you guys.
So this is Bob, my assistant, Chrissy Pickett, who is the contact, is working with the governor's office and other programs to try to recruit additional board members. And even if we get somebody who is interested, they still have to go through the process of appointment. So it can be a lengthy process. It doesn't happen typically overnight, but.
And they have to meet these very specific qualifiers.
Thank you. And qualifiers have to be met. And Chair, I do see Chrissy's hand is raised.
Interpreters are going to pause firstly.
Thank you. Chrissy, are you with us?
Yep. Hi. I just wanted to clarify, but you had already touched on it, but we do have applicants. We just don't have the right qualifications that were applied.
This is Colleen. So with the people who have applied, if they're not meeting the qualifications, is there something wrong with how we're presenting the required qualifications if they don't know they're qualified or not?
That
Chrissy,
is
were you-
something that we're trying to clarify in our recruitment materials. We're trying to be very specific that we're looking for people who represent a state organization or an association. So we're trying to be very, very clear with that in our materials.
Okay, that's really a bummer because it feels like I don't feel very comfortable continuing with the minimum quorum all the time. Because we're always just barely meeting minimum. It seems like maybe we should pause on this until we have a full board. I mean, to continue at the state level with just a minimum, to me, it's as a deaf person, I'm using interpreters, but I can't represent the entire deaf community here. I can't be the only deaf person here. I will
community involvement in this process.
And if we're gonna continue to make decisions and run things without a fuller idea of the input of the community, I'm just gonna push back against this because having a very minimum quorum, there's only 4 of us to begin with, and I'm the only deaf person.
And 4 people does not represent our entire statewide community.
Sammy?
So this is Sammy, so by statute, you have to meet quarterly. It's a must, but the legislators put in the statute under 676, 780, number 6.
676.
780. So you have to meet every quarter. That's just what they put in the statute, whether there's only 4 of you or there's 7 of you.
So, with that, because I feel similar to what Colleen was just saying, is that, we're supposed to have 7 representatives from the different fields, and we have 4. And especially like Colleen saying, she's the only deaf representative, like that puts a lot of weight on her, being the one deaf person on the board. Is there a way that we can still meet but pause any decision making? Because I don't know. I just worry that we might make decisions that affect other communities that we're not considering because they're not currently represented.
Sammy?
So this is Sammy. So at this point, there's no decisions to be made on this agenda. And I don't know when rules will be done, so it could be a while. We don't have any cases yet, so you wouldn't be looking at that. That's all I can think of. No rules right now until the RAC gets done. So there are really no decisions to be made at this time that I know of.
Also remember that this is happening with each board. The OAD board, and in other states as well, there are never enough people who are involved. So even if we decided to do a postponement or to wait, we could be waiting forever. So with this work that we're doing, it's the work that we have and we have to just proceed with it.
Sammy?
So this is Sammy. If the board members have ideas of who we can reach out to, do you have contacts at places maybe we don't know about? We're more than happy to reach out to them by email, by telephone. We can have them come in. So if you have people that you know, by all means, let us know, and Christy and I will tackle that with absolutely no problem.
Mish. So I have a question. I remember the clause saying someone must be representative of a deaf organization. So I'm wondering, how do we interpret that word representative? Do they have to be on a board of something, or like OAD, or just a member of a board, or a member of OAD? How is that interpreted, a representative, quote unquote? Colleen's saying someone who's active, someone who's involved with that organization.
Sammy?
So this is actually something that the governor's office would interpret, because they're the ones that are appointing the authorities. From what I've seen is a representative can be somebody with an association. Maybe they're with some other kind of representative is a person who represents an organization, an association. So, I mean, it can be interpreted in
So it's broad.
many ways, yeah. And we've definitely reached out
Okay,
to
thank
NAD.
you.
But we'll-
NAD, not OAD?
Oh, NAD, I apologize.
You mean, oh, you meant OAD, okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Okay, this is Bob. Eric, you're lit up yellow. Is your hand up? I can't see that far. No?
Nope.
Okay. All right, this is Bob. Moving on. If everybody's ready, then, so as you noticed, the scripts have changed a bit, and the chair received an email from Sammy with regards to some Oregon government ethics Go ahead, Sandy.
So the Oregon Government Ethics Commission changed their rules in October. Some of the rules around public meetings law and how it's governed and compliance and how complaints are made. So some of the more poignant ones for governing bodies like this board or allowing for public comment in a certain amount of time. So 3 minutes, 2 minutes, that the chair can do that. Although everybody has to be given the same amount of time. So it's 3 minutes, everybody gets 3 minutes, whether they're on a screen or in person.
So it's only four, right?
Correct. Comments can be limited to only what's on the agenda or what the board regulates, so sign language interpreting. And the chair reserves the right to stop comments if they don't actually, or if they don't align with the subject matter on the agenda. And they can stop it if it's disruptive or it's over limit and those types of things. And one good thing to know is that if a complaint's made, it can be against all the board members. And so the Government Ethics Commission is paying very close attention to the different boards that are happening all over the state. So, and they've already since October, I mean, there's several out there that they've looked and made violations to. And then there's a new grievance process. So if you know somebody who came to this meeting and we didn't notice it in time. So that's against the public meetings law. They could make a complaint to Josh, and there's a form on our website on the every page and every main page. The complaint has to be within 30 days of the meeting, and HLO has 10 days to reply. So
Hold on. You have how many? 30 days?
they
10.
have 10. So we have 10.
10 days to reply.
And I'm gonna send this to you guys in an email. So you can read it for yourself. That's it for that.
Make a comment, Sandy, you can comment about interpreters taking breaks.
Thank you. Sammy, so we only have 3 interpreters. We were unable to get a 4th interpreter. So we're going to take a 10-minute break every hour and a half and then a 30-minute lunch. So is everybody okay with that? Okay, perfect. Thank you for reminding us.
Everyone's done so.
Oh, you want me to take them?
Sure.
So,
Well, just to clarify, we're starting the 10 minutes at 9, we started at 9:30, so is that pushed
We
to?
started a little bit late, so does that mean we're gonna offset everything a little bit?
oh, yeah, offset it a little bit.
Okay, so around 10:40 or no, 10:30-ish? Would that be about right? We'll call it, because we were called to order 10 minutes late, so
Every hour and a half. 11-ish.
you didn't say every hour 10 minutes? Oh, no, okay. And every hour and a half is 10 minutes, got it. Okay, yep, no problem, that's clear, I appreciate that.
So
I'll keep an
then-
eye on the time then. Go ahead.
And we can, Josh will be paying attention to it. One last thing, and then I'll shut up. Everyone knows with limited waiver on enforcement, so people can be working in the field of sign language interpreting, and they don't need to hold a license at this time. But we're not going to put discipline on them. That also extends to businesses. So a person who's employing or contracting with an individual who does not hold an Oregon license to provide sign language interpreting services, they also are under the waiver. That's all. So individuals are and businesses are. Because it's except for the crime part, if, let's say, the district attorney of Multnomah County decided to take action against a business for not having a licensed sign language interpreter being employed or contracted, they could take criminal action. But HLO is not going to be taking administrative action. Okay, and I'm gonna put notice out about this at some point in the near future. I don't have a date. Any questions?
We're gonna take a moment to switch interpreters.
Okay, Chair, interpreter ready? Okay, this is Bob Boswell again. So continuing on with the director's report, I am looking at slide 18, if anybody's following along, and it's with regards to licenses issued. When this report was generated, we issued in quarter one of fiscal year 2025, 31 education licenses, and in quarter two, we've issued 6. The generalist license in quarter four of 2024, we had issued 5. In quarter one of 2025, we had issued 30. And in quarter two, we had issued 23. And with regards to the legal license, we issued 2 in quarter four of fiscal year 2024, 8 in quarter one of fiscal year 2025, and 1 in quarter two of 2025. The medical, we have issued 10 in quarter four of 2024, 39 in quarter one of 2025, and 61 in quarter two of fiscal year 2025. Supervisory licenses, we've issued 19 in fiscal year 2024. In quarter one of 2025, we issued 90, and quarter two of 2025, we issued 67. Provisional licenses, in fiscal year 2025, quarter one, we've issued 6, and in quarter two, we issued 1. Licenses by age and gender. If you're following along, I'm on slide 24, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but in the age range of 18 to 25, 13 that I've identified as female, none of the others. 78 female in 26 to 33 range. In that same range, 30 who I've identified as male, and 10 others. 34 to 41 age range, 165 who I identified as female, 31 who identified as male, and 18 who identified as other. 42 to 49 years old, 194 identified as female, 30 as male, and 31 as other. 50 to 57, 134 who've identified as female, 35 as male, 26 as other. 58 to 65, 109 that have identified as female, 11 as male, and 15 other. 66 to 73, 20 who identified as female, 3 male, and 6 other. And the last column is 74 to 81, 5 that have identified as female, and none of the others. On slide 24, a license count by state. Chair, I don't know how you want me to read this. I can go down by each state, but I will tell you that.
No, that's too much. I mean, we
Yeah,
can
thank
see, we've got the slides.
Thank you. So these numbers do include
Yeah.
temporary licenses.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We've got all of the information. It's there. We can just get past it.
Okay. And slide 26. This slide also includes temporaries, but the top half of it, it explains shares the total number of education, generalist, legal, medical, supervisory, and provisional. And then one of the slides that was requested was a license.
Tammy?
Tammy?
Trying to find the unmute. Hi. So on that last slide, Bob, you said the top,
Portion of
is the
it.
top including the temporaries from the bottom, or
It's divided.
just Pardon?
It's divided. So
It's divided.
the current licensure for Oregon is 180.
Okay, so it's totally separate. Okay,
Yeah. And so this slide will likely change by the next board meeting since we aren't having temporary licensure anymore. Copy that? Okay.
thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you for asking. And then one of the slides that was requested by the board was licensed by Oregon counties. And you can see that there. And you can see that Marion and Multnomah County appear to have the largest number of interpreters. Any questions on that slide? If not, another slide that was requested, licensed by ethnicity, and this does include temporary licenses.
We've got, Eric's got his hand up.
Oh, Eric, sorry, thank you.
All right, Bob, really quick. I'm looking at the by counties. And if a county doesn't have any interpreters, then is it not listed?
Yes.
And I was looking at this thinking, hey, we serve Lake County, and Lake County is not on the list at all. But that's because there's no interpreters out there.
That's not where they're listed.
Yeah, so, Chair and members of the board, this depicts what their residence is. We don't know where they're working.
Got it.
All right, and then license.
And that's the area they serve. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, moving on. And then on slide 28 is the license by ethnicity, which was requested by the board, and this does include temporary license, and that will fall, the temporary number will fall off in the next meeting. Sign language interpreters, the fiscal, this is one of two slides that I'll be sharing today. And for fiscal year 2025, the beginning balance was $73,088.30 in the negative.
Could you repeat that to me, please?
$73,088.30.
Yeah, we can, Colleen says we can see that.
Okay. And for the budget review, also requested by the board, shows expenditures. I'll let you digest that for a minute in case you have any questions. And I do have our fiscal analysts, should be online in case you have any questions that I cannot answer.
Tammy's got her hand up. Tammy.
Tammy?
So the beginning cash balance in the negative of 73,000, does that include? I'm scrolling back down to look through. So was the budget fully adjusted for not being charged for interpreting services? Because if we're starting in that negative 73,000, is that still including the interpreting services for last year, or were we reimbursed for that?
That's a great question. I'm not
They're
sure.
still on there.
Huh?
I think that they're still on there.
Yeah, I don't give that advice. I do think that they're on there, but the monies will show up as the process evolves. So we receive the invoice, we forward the invoice to OHA, and but we show it on our books until that is paid. So there's an accounting of it, but it is not coming actually out of the board's budget.
But it did last year, and we have not been reimbursed for that because it should
No,
not.
you haven't. Not yet.
And how do we make sure that that happens?
Our analyst is watching it.
Okay, so we'll be updated at the next meeting.
Eric, you had your hand up.
Sorry, Tammy, you have more?
Keep going. I have more. Go ahead, Eric.
Just my question, because I think that's awesome. If that's new for me, if it was included in the budget before, but we're no longer being charged, I think that's a huge thing to be communicated to our community. because that's been such a large part of what people understand the cost of the licenses being attached to the cost of interpreters for these meetings. So I think if we're not being charged the cost of the interpreters, I think it'd be wonderful, like nugget to communicate to our community so that burden isn't being assumed. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and just to further explain it, there's a process, 3-step process, 3 different entities, HLO to OHA, and then the state financial systems. So we're dependent on each of the other entities to do their part. And it's taking some time.
Understood, yeah, and to be reimbursed for an entire year's expenses could take some time, and it probably will happen in waves, I'm assuming, as those bills sent out in waves, okay. Down on the expenditure report where it says percent spent and percent budget period, is that a calendar year? Is that since the inception of the board? It says in the red 124%, and then budget period percent budget period 75%. What do those numbers mean, and calendar year or inception of the board?
It's a fiscal year.
Fiscal year, okay.
It is July 1 of one year to June 30 of the following year.
Okay.
And it looks like on this report that it was from, this report is from July 1 of 23 to 6/30 of 25. So this one is, looks like it's the biennium.
Okay.
So it's showing 18 months.
Okay.
18 months of a 24-month period.
Perfect, thank you. Just making sure that I'm understanding what I'm looking at. Down under expenses, attorney and legal fees, $112,620. Can we get more explanation on what that's for, and does that include the board and the RAC, or just the board?
That is the board and the RAC.
Okay. And can you explain to all of us and the people that are watching what those fees are for? Because that seems like a lot. It looks like a large number, but I'm sure that it's built out.
Yeah, so Heather Fogelsong, who you've all met a time or two, it has been, if I remember, just about at every board meeting and every Rules Advisory Committee meeting. And so we pay her out of your budget.
Okay, and just, I mean, I'm there and I see Heather there, but I know that people are wondering and looking at that. That's a large number. So other than being at the meetings, what else is it that Heather does for us?
So this is Sammy. So this is normal, especially when you have a new board, because there are laws and lawyers interpret laws. We as HLO need what that interpretation is and how these things are played out in the legislature, what they intend. So what you don't see is the background of what me and Heather are doing in between meetings and back and forth. And there's a lot of work that we do to get the rules, mostly Rules Advisory Committee. They won't have a new idea, so then we have to go down that road. They wanted BRIs, we had to go down that road. I mean, so every time they make an adjustment, me and Heather gotta go to work, so. But that, like I said, it's normal, especially when boards first start up, so that we can get them in place, get all of their intent laid out, and then it smooths out.
Okay, and so we can expect to see that number go down a little bit once the board's established.
Yeah, once the rules are in place, the RAC is done, and then we may need Heather for cases that come to the board.
Got it. Okay.
This is Colleen.
Colleen.
Thank you, Tammy, for your questions. It's kind of make me thinking of other questions too. So if we do have to look at the possibility of getting A new
Ask her to say that again.
what? Get it?
A new.
Oh, Senate Bill
Oh,
950. Does that mean our costs are going to increase after that? Or should we expect the cost to go up if we have to look at a new Senate bill and make adjustments to it?
Correct.
Okay.
Henry? Oh, I'll look at you.
I mean, part of me feels like I really do want to kind of put a pause, hit the pause button on things until we have a little more time, until we kind of see what's going on with Senate Bill 950, to kind of figure out how we can get things aligned. It's just a thought.
Well, like Tammy said, the board's in place and we do have to meet quarterly. This is Bob. And Tammy, sorry I talked over you.
It's okay,
Your hand.
it's okay. Go ahead.
It's just we do have to meet quarterly, and we get some of these questions, these good questions answered for you, and we can update you as the RAC makes progress as well.
Tammy, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I think some of that with us not being able to make decisions might just happen naturally with, as we've seen how long it takes for the RAC to get through rules and that sort of thing. And hopefully that 950 will come around, and then if that passes, then maybe our legal fees won't go up as much because we'll have less of the need to talk about all of the rules and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're gonna switch for the interpreters.
Right, fingers crossed.
Bob, go ahead and continue with your report.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, then I will move into the policy report and turn it over to Sandy.
Can I just say, Bob, before we go on, Bob, thank you so much for getting us that report and breaking out all those differences so we can see them. I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
So,
Interpreters, can we clarify interpreters what?
That's what Tammy said.
Oh, she said, thank you for breaking everything down.
Tammy said.
and this is Bob for procedural for the upcoming board meetings. Do you want to see this report annually? Is what we were thinking. Now that you have a better idea of how it's all broke down, and then we don't have to put the extra work into this report. Go ahead.
This is Tammy. I think for the foreseeable future, I'd like to see somewhat of a report so that we can see that those interpreting expenses from last year are being reimbursed to us. So I don't know that we this detail, but just a report of, hey, we got reimbursed for this much, you know, as we're going. If that's possible.
This is Bob. Yeah, so if you look at slide 29, that's the general report we provide to all the boards. And as you follow along, and I'll ask the analyst to let me know so we can point it out to you that when the money is reimbursed.
This is Tammy. That'd be great, because if it's just wrapped up into maybe revenues or something, we might not know that we're actually getting reimbursed for that. And I'd like to see the accountability that that's happening.
Understood. Thank you. Tammy's making notes.
Making a note. So I have the legislative summary, and I'll just jump to.
Eric, this is Colleen. Eric, I saw you kind of had something. Sorry, did you want to add something?
I don't know. Yes. Hi, it's Derek. I asking if this report should be an annual. I guess I think that's probably sufficient. I was looking at those numbers and looking at the number of licenses, like I would be able to figure out what the cost is going to be. So I think I just get overwhelmed with the numbers and try to figure out things that I don't have a formula for. So yeah, I'm good. Once a year is fine. Sorry.
I'm just going to skip to the two bills that are really related to this board. So Senate Bill 731 requires public employer employment policies to provide for and pay differential for sign language interpreters bills in the same manner that they pay for other languages. So that has passed out of the Senate committee, and then now it's over on the House side. So that is moving along. Senate Bill 950, which I think everybody, all of you heard about, does several things. It takes away the 3 licenses, the medical, the legal, and the educational. It creates a license for endorsement. We think there is some ambiguity in some of these things that we need some clarification on. The more clarification we get, the easier it will be to interpret it when we go to make rules or whatever. One of the big things is that it doesn't become effective until 91 days after signing die, which is around September 27th, and then rules
After
have.
what?
After-
So,
After
91
signing
days after signing die, which is the
Signing
end of legislative session. That's the end of legislative session, the last day.
SINEUI.
So that's around September 27th, so that only gives us about 90 days to do rules, which is, it's possible if you didn't have to do RACs, but OHA requires us to do rules advisory committee, so we'd have to do it, so it's pretty impossible. So we're hoping that if and when it gets a hearing, that they'll push that out, so there's time to, involve the community, involve licensees on how to roll these changes out. So, any questions about that?
Eric?
Hi, this is Eric. If 950 passes, would this board just shift over, or would it still be this group, or would they have to like reconvene a new board and all of that pieces that we just did in 24?
I don't know if I understand.
Would it abolish the current
Does
members?
it abolish the current board?
Yeah, like I guess my assumption is that we are a sign language interpreting board based on HB 2696 passing, which required us to be formed. And so if 950 passes, will that supersede 2696 and will we still be the same group leading any rulemaking with 950?
So this is Sammy. If you look at 950, in some instances, where's it at? You will see where they've created a new law, which is all in bold, or where they have a section where it's not bold and some is bold. So 676-753 in section 4.
67653.
753, sorry. It has a new line item, so that will go over the top of what was in House Bill 2696. So it's gonna change a few things, but not all of the laws. So, but that's a really good question. I've actually had that question several times in the last
Great, thank
year
you.
or so.
That was my concern, is that we just incurred all these costs and fees going through what we just did in 24.
Yeah.
We'll have to do
Eric?
all-
You sound like you're underwater again. And Colleen's saying, yeah, it's like ridiculous if we have to keep it changing everything. Keep going, Eric. So I'm gonna use sign language now, so it's interprets good voice for me, that'd be great. So I'm saying because, in 2024, we worked so hard and, we had the lawyer there, we were paying fees to them, for the whole year. And now if, this 950 passes, then it seems like, are we gonna have to do that whole process again? Or can we, all the work we've done, kind of transfer over to this new Senate Bill 950?
Yes, where it hasn't changed, that you don't have to do that again. Like, for example, the work that the RAC has done on the provisional license, if it stays this way, that won't change. board stays the same. Things that you would have to do by rule is if the board establishes fees, that has to be by administrative rule. So that has to go through the rulemaking process before we can even start collecting fees. Oh, we need to write rules for the interpreter in training license and requirements around that. And
Mish has a question. So I'm curious. Could we ask RAC to review the provisional license? Because we have this interpreter in training. I feel like if that is set up, it will kind of influence the provisional license that we already have set. So I do feel that that is, you know, that new law is gonna pass. So I feel like we are gonna have to do some work again.
yeah, we're gonna have to do work.
And Colleen says, yeah, we'll definitely have to probably revisit it. Colleen says, okay. Any more questions, any more discussion? Should we move on to the next part?
Yes, I will just keep on going.
Is it the policy report then?
Yes, the next part is the Rules Advisory Committee. They have scheduled, we met on February 5th and talked through some more of the generalist license. We spent a good deal of time in executive session. And then we talked about exemptions and extenuating circumstances. So they will meet again, April 3rd, again, April 10th, and then May 28th, and then July 23rd. So we went out to the summer. So I kind of have, I mean, if I'm going off of how they've been operating so far, then I expect that they will be taking into the next year to finish these rules. Because it's taking between 3 to 4 meetings per license type. And that is then also having to go back and look at something new and then go back, like the VRI or supervision or whatever. So that's taking those things into account. So if 950 passes, it will just get stuck into the rack we've already got going and we'll just reassess. Any questions about that? Oh, yeah, any questions about that? Okay. The Hospital Association of Oregon, Bob and I met with them back in early February, and they kind of just talking about how once the rules get in place, giving the hospitals time to put new procedures in place and how to get people licensed and kind of just pushing all of that out. So we talked about that and that we were definitely willing to hear them out and make sure that it works for everybody and timing's good. So we have interpreters for everything in the medical setting, which 950 would help with that. And then they recommended 2 people to serve on the committee. And so I'm going to tell you who it is. Somebody from Legacy. Find their name. Oh, Erin Neff Midyard.
Spell that, please.
ERINNEFF-MIN Yard.
And what is their role or title?
They're from Legacy Health and they're Language Access Program Coordinator. The other person is Maja, M-A-J-A. Kowalski.
Spell.
K-O-W-A-L-S-K-I. And they're from Grand Ronde Hospital and their Patients Care Services. So they actually got their welcome letter on Monday, and so They may only come for medical license, they may decide to come for other things, we'll just kind of wait and see. We have 2 members that don't ever really come, so, yeah. So putting 2 more people on is helpful.
Interpreter switch.
Any questions about that? Okay, I'm just gonna go right along. I just put this Department of Education information in here because I, frequently speak with Georgianne from Department of Ed, and they are going to be filing a permanent rule to go on top of this temporary rule, by the expiration date, which is 3/17/25, so soon. I don't know if Georgianne is on.
This is Georgianne.
Oh, hello, Georgianne.
Hi. So I've already done the
So
first read and gone through, I go through the rack the second time and it's already been posted. So as of, I believe it's the 13th, it should be done. And it was going to expire, I believe, the 15th. So we should be
Perfect.
perfect.
Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And then I'm just gonna keep on going. This I actually got from Georgianne as well. She was in a training, I think. So the EIPA, we have dates set for the testing in 2025, so I gave you those dates. And then also a link that gives more information. And so kind of the biggest takeaway, I think, is that the Boys Town is grading exams from February of 2024. So just to give you an idea,
So it's a 1-year wait.
at least.
This is Georgianne. I don't want to interrupt if I'm not allowed to.
Oh, you're a subject matter expert.
Okay. And so I can say they hired new people last year. They are training. They're hoping to decrease that length of time. We have, as in the board, the Task 12 board has really been pushing to get that wait time reduced because it's fairly ridiculous, and they are the only ones who do it. So we have been working on that. I also have dates for ODE pays for, I believe it's up to 75 people to do training through EIPA, and it's workshops with them that directly relate to the EIPA testing. I know I send those out to Eric. Eric, you're welcome to share that with the board. Absolutely. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there because it's underutilized at this point. I have a feeling after this gets all done, it's not going to be underutilized any longer, but for now it is a little bit underutilized. So please spread the word.
Georgianne, if you want to send me that information, I'm going to be doing an update to all the licensees, and I can put that in there.
Absolutely. I will send that to you right now. Thanks, Tammy. Yes, Eric. Yay.
On Tammy.
Georgiana, are you talking about the workshops that they do? I think it's like once a quarter, they have workshops on a Saturday that you can do.
Yes.
Yes, those aren't necessarily related to testing. Sometimes they're just related to interpreting concepts, more specifically to educational interpreting, but not always. They're great workshops to go to, and we appreciate having them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Eric?
I just, can someone again? And I'll find it.
So my question for you, Georgianne. Does ODE have money for interpreting, acquiring certification or taking a certification test? The EIPA test or an RID test?
At this time, Oregon does not have anything dedicated for that. We do have the dedicated funds at this time for the training. That's it.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
We do have have one question for you, Georgianne, while you're here. In your rules and things that the thing you applied for, I'm looking at it. You still do not have or did not add back in the 12 hours of continuing ed?
This is Georgianne. And I want to first off apologize. Can you hear me? Okay. I want to apologize that I can't. I woke up sick today, so I'm not on screen, so you don't want to look at this. But yes, this is just going until the licensure gets in place. So this is a very short-term fix. We can't call it that technically though, because they only do short-term for so long and you can't do it again. But we did this just for the moments until we get licensure on track, and then we go back and we'll change it yet again.
Georgianne, this is Sammy. Just something for you to consider, and I'll send you this information. Senate Bill 950 actually repeals the education license. So you and I will talk about how that impacts the Department of Ed and how we would move forward with that.
Absolutely, yes, and I'm really glad we've got this. It's I'm a pro on the rulemaking now, so we're just gonna go back after this all gets done, and we're gonna reconfigure it all. So,
This is Tammy. Can I make a point for having those 12 hours?
absolutely,
Reinstated back on there? Yes, definitely. It does a lot for improving the skills of the educational interpreters.
thank you, Tammy.
Eric seconds, Colleen seconds. We've officially counted the votes.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Yeah, public
And
and
we all
interest
agree on
parties.
the educational part, so let's move on.
Public and interested parties feedback. I don't know if there's anybody on. It looks like there's 20 people on.
Eric has a question. Colleen says, maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. I don't see the 20 people you're referring to.
There's a script. Thanks.
Hold on a minute. Before we move on, do we want to review the legislation information? The executive meeting, is that what you're talking about?
No. We're talking,
Can you be more specific? I don't know.
Is there nothing else? I'm just looking at this page that you sent me. Are we on page, slide 32? Or are we past that? Are we on 33?
Slide 54. 54.
Oh,
yeah,
we're
well, I
down
mean,
there,
you-
so I gotta keep going. Okay, hold on.
It seemed like you wanted to go right through
Okay,
everything
excuse me
quickly.
just for a minute. I got lost in that. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I see where we are now. All right, thank you. Yes, okay, I'm so sorry about that. I was lost in that other content. All right, so now for public comment, let me take a look.
Eric has a question.
Go ahead, Eric. It's just really quick. Do we have an executive session today? Colleen shakes her head no. Okay, I just wanted to ask. That's fine. Colleen says, okay, just a moment. This is just my suggestion. For public comment, can we wait until after the interpreters have had a break?
Yeah, you're in charge.
Because they've been working this whole time, and I think maybe we can convene, I'm just looking at the time here, it's 10:40, maybe we can start with our public comment session at 10:50. I'm just taking a pulse here, does everyone agree with that? So head nod from Mitch.
sounds good, Chair.
Eric says it, break's fine. maybe 10 minutes or 20, or what are you guys thinking, 10 or 20? Is that enough time for the interpreters to get ready for the public comment section? Full of energy and ready to get back to work? What do you think, 10 or 20 minutes? Is there a preference? Eric says 17, let's compromise in the middle. All right, let's come back at 10:56. All right. All right, we're back at 10:58. I'm going to go ahead and read the script for public and interested parties feedback. At this time, the Board of Sign Language Interpreters will hear public and interested parties feedback. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what the board has statutory authority to regulate. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes and will not be allowed if they're disruptive to the board's conduct of its business. If you're called on to comment, HLO staff will request the public member to unmute themselves. The chairperson and HLO reserve the right to end a person's comment early and have HLO staff mute the public member if the comment does not pertain to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this board has statutory authority to regulate. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment? If so, please raise your hand or use the Zoom raise hand feature to be acknowledged. Now, we'll go ahead and start.
Christina Healy has her hand up.
Is there anyone speaking?
There's no one's
Looks
talking,
like
no.
someone's pushing, but
Healy's, got her hand up.
maybe we have the wrong thing in.
Did the interpreter see Christine?
We don't see her. Is she signing?
Yeah, right there. Oh, Stephen Healy.
Oh, she was not on our screen, sorry. Hi.
Can you guys see me?
Okay, there we go.
Colleen,
Hello.
can you voice, please?
My name is Christina Healy. And I'm an interpreter here in this area. I'm also the chair of the Legislative Committee for ORID. And I wanted to inform everyone that ORID has a complete website page that describes Senate Bill 950. It has a great summary and points of emphasis. And you can take a look at that and see what the SB 950 is all about and how it's supposed to work. And this hasn't been officially announced. We've kind of been waiting on this, but we wanted to give you a save the date for March 13th from 3 to 4:30. The Senate has been waiting for a public meeting to approve. That'll be the final day, and then there'll be a public hearing. So everyone is invited to come to Salem and testify or give comment about SB 950, or go ahead and call or attend virtually. Of course, it depends on interpreters' availability. And that public hearing has been officially, when it is officially set up, we will post the link and send out a letter as well. I think that's all I had to say. I encourage you all to go ahead and look at the website. It has all the information on there. Thank you so much. Thank you for your hard work. Bye.
She says, thank you. Colleen.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Josh, did anyone
I've asked
email
no
you?
names up and haven't gotten any emails regarding it.
Okay, I see that. I have a question. This is me, Colleen. I actually have a comment and want to make it as a perspective as a community member, not as a board member. Is this an appropriate time to comment or should I wait for another time?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Just a second. There are a few things that are not in order, but I want to put it out there. The community has shared information with me, and I'm not the only one, but the community as a whole is concerned with HLO worker, specifically those who do not seem to represent net neutrality or who are seen not aligning with our goals with licensure. This has been our dream and our goal, and it seems like the neutrality is not happening. And so I'm trying to, I'm not trying to be harsh, but it seems like this has been brought up with, when we were talking about SB 950 in the meeting, it was brought up and those concerns have been passed around and the board has heard them. And so if we can have this board and this entity to support our goals with neutrality, we need that to be successful. This is not for profit. We are not trying to get licensure monies for profit. For this to be successful, it's going to protect our community here in Oregon. Right now, with this process of HLO, the licensure, the waiver and everything, the community interpreters are not applying for licensures. They're not, because right now it's not active and it's being deferred. So the license holder should be based on the temporary one because it's different than the one that we're looking at today. So we're not getting an accurate picture of what's going on with licensure at the moment in our community. And I feel like SB 950, for it to be successful, should be including more people and have less restrictions and fewer barriers. I think I covered all my bases there. My other comment I had to make was currently, and as we see out in the world with limited resources, cars, eggs, etc., we have an interpreter shortage right now, and we have limited resources there as well. We have a lack of accommodation, essentially. And because of our licensure processes today, it's already been impacted, and it was there before this licensure thing started up. So,
and you guys promised it wouldn't affect. You guys promised that it would not affect our availability of interpreters. So, everything we've been trying to do, it feels like we don't have your full support, and it doesn't fully align with what we're trying to do to better what we have.
Let me see here. The third thing, which is a separate topic completely. I do have a question for us as the board to consider. First, interpreting in person versus virtual, such as VRI or remote interpreting, whatever. The issue there, and I just want to throw this out there, if we are having a script, for example, the script that we're reading from, and we are signing it, we can make a pre-made recording that will be accessible to the public. Would that mean that the person who is actually doing the interpreting, the visual interpreting of the script, so the written script to sign language in ASL, would they, it's kind of like a static, sign language essentially, a scripted sign language. Would that be required to be done by a licensed person, or could it be done by anyone, any deaf person, anywhere, in the community? You know, a community member, could they sign that portion of the script, and have it recorded on camera? Would that be required for licensure, or would that be an exemption? Because that's essentially interpreting in that moment. So
Or public announcement information.
yeah, for public announcement information. I just want to clarify, would that be a requirement or not? Would licensure be a requirement or not?
I'd like to turn that over to you guys to look inside yourself and feel what you feel about that.
And I'm gonna put my board member hat back on. Are there any other hands? Any last comments? Eric? Oh,
Sarah?
Sarah, I saw a hand.
Hi, I do apologize. I'm driving, so I'm hoping that you can hear me okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, my question, obviously, this is kind of an obvious one. If the Senate bill is passed and isn't taking effect till September, I'm not looking for an extension of the waiver. And it was my understanding it would not be extended. Is there some discussion around that to be had? Or I apologize if I've missed comments. I'm popping in these as often as I can, so I may have missed that conversation.
Sammy, did you want to answer that?
Sure, I think that once we get closer to the June 30th date, that we'll reassess it and decide if it's necessary to extend it. It'll kind of, yeah, I'm sure it will be extended again. So I don't think the wrap will be done.
Sarah,
Thank
did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time. Eric, you had your hand up. He says, I'm going to sign.
I want to support what Colleen was just saying. I too have heard a little bit of feedback about some from the interpreting community. So I don't know if they recently watched the RAC meeting, and when Senate Bill 950 was introduced or mentioned, their feeling was when it was being discussed with the group, the meeting there at the RAC, the feedback seemed to be from HLO, I guess, seemed to be not neutral, seemed like bias, you know, or maybe even against the bill. So I just wanted to, you know, let you guys know that some people in the community are concerned about HLO. Well, the community wants HLO to align with the community's goals. And if during a meeting it seems or it sounds like there was like a negative attitude about the process, and that really affects our community. So I just feel like that I'm trying to, you know, like think of the right word, maybe breaks trust a little bit, kind of influences in that way. So I just want us to be all more cognizant of language we use while discussing it, if we support or oppose. Just try to keep more neutrality with our language.
Yes, neutrality.
And then this is kind of a separate topic. Recently, again, I supervise K through 12 interpreters. And recently, one student went to the nurse's office. And the interpreter, my educational interpreter, went with them. And they were like, whoa, 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 nope, boundary, that's medical. I'm an educational interpreter. So I asked, you know, I just want some sort of clarification. So that school nurse's office, does that mean it's a medical setting? So this situation, it was at a high school, and high school has a clinic that's actually in the school. So it's like its own business, but it is actually in the school. So the, you know, they have the educational license, our K through 12 interpreter. But in this kind of situation, now it's becoming a medical situation. Or is it still allowed for the educational interpreter to accompany the student into that medical appointment? So if you don't mind, if we could just get a little bit of clarification about these kind of situations that pop up from now and then. Thank you.
Colleen says Georgianne, she was here and she was the expert topic matter from ODE about rulemaking. Does she have anything to say about that?
Well, this is Georgianne. It's an interesting quandary because it is technically the high school medical clinics are technically really medical clinics. If 950 were to go through, would that eliminate that issue?
Mitch says, I think so.
And Colleen says, yeah.
I'm thinking it would too. The only other piece of that I could say is that I think as long as they're interpreting for the student in a non-medical way, they could still, you know, they could still do it. I think it would get complicated though. That is really interesting. I'm really loving 950 right this second. Sorry, that wasn't neutral. I'm sorry.
Tammy, and there's a difference, Sarah.
And this is the interpreters. Tammy, before you go, please, we're going to switch interpreters.
Okay, this is Tammy. Because that clinic is a separate business, it kind of depends on where their funding comes from. If they're a separate business, they are their own entity, then they need to hire and bring in their own interpreters. You cannot send a K-12 interpreter in there because they're paid from a different source. So, and then we are providing services for essentially another company. So we can do that legally, is what we have always been told. So it depends on where their funding comes from. If they go to a school nurse, like the school district hires their own nurse, you can go with that. But if they're those separate clinics that are merely housed in the building and other people from outside the community can come and use those services, they need to hire their own interpreter.
And I see there's two hands, sorry. Sarah, do you mind if we let Georgianne answer first? She's our subject matter expert.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Sarah. This is Georgianne again. I will say that would be something people would have to look into because some of our clinics are actually hired and funded through the districts. So that's probably different in every district. So that would be something I'd recommend looking into.
Eric says, who does that research? Colleen says, okay, maybe a new homework for you, Georgianne, maybe. Thanks. Then this is Colleen still. Is Sarah wanting to
Yeah,
comment?
I think, yeah, that just brings up a good point because even if Senate bill is passed, it doesn't do away with the medical registry requirements, right, of taking the medical interpreting. So in my mind, a scenario like that, you would still need someone who's at minimum got the generalist licensure and the medical interpreting training. Is that correct?
I think that's the question on the floor. Sorry, that was Tammy.
Yeah, I guess it's maybe something that we can, Eric, I'm glad you brought that up. Maybe we can talk about that and think about it for next time. Sarah, did you have, your hand is still raised, did you have another comment? Okay,
Nope, sorry, I'm good.
right, okay, great, yeah. Perfect, okay, thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate your perspective. Any other comments? Any emails? Josh, did we get any emails?
I have got nothing.
Okay. Is there a script for closing? I forget. So,
We have some other board business. This is Bob.
yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. But I mean, don't we have a script for public comment being ended?
No.
And then, so anyways, so the Board of Sign terms meeting. Okay, great. So other board business.
Thank you. There's some discussion about dates and having board meetings that might not be productive. We have another board meeting like within the next 4 weeks. And prior to any rules advisory committee meetings, we're wondering if we wanted to move it.
Can we get rid of it? Can we cancel it? Let's get rid of it.
But we would like to reschedule it after at least a rules advisory committee meeting.
That's great. Yeah, let's reschedule it. And Mish says that makes sense.
Today.
Eric seconds.
What day do we have available
Colin
after that?
seconds. The board definitely supports that idea.
So April
Tammy
3,
gives.
We're gonna set some dates.
after April 10th.
Yeah, Josh? Yeah, so the first one after April 10th, we have available.
We're checking our calendars.
The last week of April, we have available. First week
What
of,
about May 1st?
first week of May, we also, or the
May 1st or May
the
8th?
7th or 8th of May.
May 1 or May 8?
1st or May 8th? Or May 15th?
What do you guys think? Mish says I'm good with either.
Tammy says I'm good with either.
Any school commitments, graduations, final tests, anything that week?
Let's do the 8th.
Eric?
Let's do the 8th.
This is Eric, I have a quick question.
Eric, what's your question?
Is it gonna be in person?
Mish says I'm remote.
It does, you could come or not.
I thought the April meeting was actually supposed to be an in-person meeting, am I mistaken?
Colin says,
Well, I put it down
I
there,
thought
but
we
it's
were required to
optional.
have like one in-person meeting.
No. It's not required.
so Colin, so we're not required to have any in-person meetings from
Correct.
here on out. Oh,
Eric says that day works for me then, any day, or any day.
so the 8th? Mish says my preference would be the 8th. Eric says, okay. However you say Mish's name. So Mish's preference is the 8th of May. Are we all good with that? Let's put it down, May
Thank you very much.
Mish says, thank you.
8th. Any other business we need to discuss?
I think that was all HLO had. This is Bob.
We're gonna finish before noon, hey! So, yeah, please consider everything that was commented in during the public comment session. So, if anything, between now and May needs clarified, please feel free to contact me. So are we ready to adjourn?
Looks like HLO's ready, if the chair is.
Yes. The Board of Sign Language Interpreters meeting is adjourned at 11:23 a.m. in the morning.
Thank you,
All right, bye,
everybody.
We can stop recording.